Welcome into the official. We're going to have a really good time tonight. We have prepared a G5 only series. Tonight, we're going to look at the MAC and the American Athletic Conference. And then next week, we are going to look at the three other G5 conferences. We are going to look at fantasy relevant players that we like headed to schools in these conferences. And, this is what it's all about, finding that deep sleeper. Hopefully, you get some CFF production out of it in your fantasy leagues. If you land on an NFL guy out of this group, please give us a 5-star rating, like, and subscribe because we're doing a great job if we hit on an NFL guy. But this is where it's very fun finding the next Keaton Mitchell, finding the next, Ben Roethlisberger went to G5. Like, you just never know. But it is unlikely to be NFL relevant, but hopefully these guys can put up some really fun college stats. And we're going to take a look tonight. This is the official. All right, G5 special. We were going to do a giant, hour and a half long, just spectacular. Decided to cut it up into two, so it's a little more digestible. But tonight we're going to look at, G5 recruits from our favorite two G5 conferences. It's going to be the AAC American Athletic Conference, as well as, of course, everyone loves hashtag Maction. You guys ready to get into it, David and Matt?
Heck yeah, dude.
All right. So we'll start alphabetical. Let's go American Athletic. I think this conference is going to look a little bit different next year from what it was this year. But we've got players from, just a little sneak peek, UTSA, Tulane, SMU, Charlotte, FAU, Navy, David Special, and Temple. And so, a little bit more to the show. I kind of mentioned in the intro, but what are you guys expecting from the players that we highlight on this show? Of course, we love the idea of the next G5 NFL star. But realistically, what are you guys expecting from looking at these players? And, if you happen to draft one in a C2C draft?
Well, I'm really just looking to find guys with at least like one standout trait or metric or something. Like either they pop up really good with their production or they look really athletic. One of the two, something where I can, something I can hitch my wagon to, something with potential there to, at least be college fantasy relevant.
Yeah, I agree with that. Just looking for a standout trait. And realistically, you're hoping for maybe like a multi-year starter, give us some sweet college production. NFL, pretty shaky, but, I'll take the college production for sure.
Yeah, I mean, on the NFL side, out of G5, it is a tough hill to climb. We see it happen from time to time, of course, but it's unlikely to be a stud. You never know. And in the transfer portal era, it gets even more interesting, right? Because some of these guys we really like, maybe they pop as a freshman, spend 2 years
We saw
at,
a lot of move ups this year.
yeah.
A lot of move
And
ups.
maybe this guy at Charlotte that we're going to talk about has 2 years of killing it at Charlotte, and gets 1 year. Look at Montrell Johnson; he was great at ULL. He comes over to UF. He acquitted himself pretty well in a committee, but he does that again. He's going to get. I mean, he could get day two capital. Like, these guys can have that upward mobility, especially in the era of the transfer portal. So, if you like the talent, this is a different era. I think these guys could be super sneaky surprises, even on C2C. And if they get that, let's say they stay at G5 and get that Senior Bowl hype, you can like sell them later, So I think identifying these guys, because they're going to be totally free in your C2C drafts, last few rounds in like a 50 something round draft, they're going to be around. Like, these are free picks that if you can identify one or two, it could be really, really nice. So let us start at the top here. I think one of the best running backs that we are going to be able to show you today, and Matt, I want to let you take it away. Durrell Robinson headed to Charlotte. This is a really unusual situation. He was an All-American he was in an All-American game and announced he's going to Charlotte, a G5 team that frankly isn't even like a great G5 team. I mean, they have a fun offense. What I mean, can you shed a little on the story there? Why is this guy headed to Charlotte, and then what are you expecting?
Yeah, he actually explained it a good bit during the All-Star game, but his former head coach from the St. Francis Academy in Maryland, a very big, high school football team, ranked nationally. He was the new Charlotte head coach, Biff Poggi. He was at Michigan for 2 years, I believe. He was Durrell's head coach at St. Francis for 2 years, and now he takes over the Charlotte job, and that's immediately he starts offering all these St. Francis guys, Durrell being one of them. And Durrell was getting P5 offers for a while. People thought he was probably going to Boston College, but here he goes and flips to G5, and to me he's just such a solid CFF outlook there. Like I can't imagine he didn't tell him like, hey, you're going to get the ball here immediately. We're going to run the ball a lot. That's apparently what they did before when he was his head coach and at the high school level. So for me, he's probably of all the G5 running backs, he's the best I would project at producing year one and actually putting up really good numbers year one. Yeah, so he's just a really balanced runner overall. He has good vision, good footwork around line. He's a pretty physical guy. Not the he's not like a 21 mile per hour guy. Not this special athlete by any means, but a very good back, good enough that he could have played P5, and I expect that to translate really well to at least the G5 level.
Yeah, I like that pick, and I think my analysis of this, as it pertains to a C2C draft, like this guy could be a little more than your complete long shot in the dark, because like Matt said, he could very well have a workload freshman season, be at least flex worthy, maybe more. I mean, they've had Camp, I think, was the running back before at Charlotte, and he was useful, especially once that AAC conference play opens up. You're going to get some good matchups. I think this is a guy that you could actually potentially count on in year one. Let's move over to a guy I had my eyes on a little bit, but David wanted to talk about him. Arnold Barnes heading to Tulane. Take a look at this guy in the picture here and tell us a little bit about him, David.
Yeah, as you can see, 5'9", 224. He's an absolute unit, and he's like one of these guys that's on the fringe of a P5 G5 guy. He was committed to Nebraska,
right?
And then Mickey Joseph got fired. And that was kind of like his Louisiana connection there. They're both from there. And so, I don't know if they shoot him out the door or whatever, but then Tulane comes on to him, and I like it. I'd rather have him be in the G5 because I don't really view him I don't really view many of these guys as NFL guys in general. So I'd rather have him go against worse competition. But the biggest thing with him is his power for sure. He's got 94th percentile power in Matt's athletic database.
Oof.
That's including a 665-pound deadlift. I mean, the guy's an ox. So
let's take a look here. Keep talking.
Yeah. So here's the other thing. He can catch the ball. Matt and I were watching some camps on him. He's got pretty good feet and hands. He can run some routes too. So he's surprisingly well-rounded, and he put up big numbers in Louisiana. I think he had over 2,000 yards rushing this year. He's not afraid to lower the shoulder. His speed is adequate. I think his
a little out of control there. Yeah, you could tell he's little sliding around, but definitely
a little tumbly.
A lot of sharp movements for a guy who's 5'9", 225 is an absolute unit, like you said. But he's got some acceleration. He's a little bit like our other friend DJ Oliver.
Yeah, if he can just get a little steam downhill there, he's going to be tough to stop.
And I think he's got a little more just kind of that raw, aggressive running style, rather than DJ Oliver's a little more finesse. I mean, I'm not going to say he's a finesse back, but he's a little more fluid, whereas Barnes looks like he really just he wants a 9-man box just so he can destroy it. So, and the SMU, a 9-man box at SMU, sign me up. I mean, he's just going to go 35 carries for 220 yards and 5 touchdowns or something. And we know that Tulane's a decent up and coming G5 program. They want to run the football. Tajay Spears was incredible this year. Like, they want to run. I like that pick quite a bit. Let's see who else we got from this side of town. SMU, just mentioned SMU for their, not known for their defense, but certainly known for their offense. And Matt, you brought up Jamarian Carroll here. Tell us a little bit what you like about him. This picture I found, he looks very athletic and fluid catching the football.
Yeah, he's a more of a recent find for us. 6'2", 195, as you can see there, and we actually have some tape of him here. He is, one of the coolest highlights you'll probably see, all
Let's
year
look at
at
it.
least. You'll see him here out wide, and you'll see a pretty awesome hurdle here that I've never seen anybody do that.
A 360-degree hurdle.
That's pretty cool. So he's a pretty bursty, explosive athlete. He doesn't have crazy long speed or anything like that, but he's got good size. He's bursty, and he's a playmaker. I definitely think at SMU, where they have proven for a good time now that they can produce on offense pretty well. So I like his outlook.
Yeah, no doubt. I really like this guy. He just all the pictures I found of him. I know it's like that's not how we scout, just like a picture, but look at that high step. I mean, he's high stepping from 30 yards out here. He's got a little moxie pizzazz. Obviously, he's got some creativity. That 360-degree hurdle was unbelievable. I mean, you do that. He could have won our dunk contest if he had done that and put a basketball in the hoop. So, yeah, that's a really interesting one. And absolutely, we're going to look for guys, going to these offenses that we know can just be. I mean, Rashee Rice was absolutely insane this year. He was like a legitimate CFF stud. We'll see what he does in the NFL. But like, you get a guy who on one of these G5 teams that puts up like 1,700, 1,800 yards. That is in the realm of possibility with some of these guys. So I like that find. That's a fun one. David, moving on to you, a guy who is going to school in my former stomping grounds. He went to St. Thomas Aquinas down in Fort Lauderdale. He's going to go to school at FAU in Boca and play for, who's their new coach? Tom Herman, I believe. Tell us a little bit about Jamari Sands. I mean, I always like mining kind of lower rated prospects from really good schools, high schools, because they usually come in kind of ready to go in terms of just preparation and experience. So coming from St. Thomas Aquinas, Jamari Sands, what do you got?
That was pretty much my thought process with this play, because it's kind of an iron sharpens iron situation over there at Aquinas. He didn't get a ton of volume, so you can't go on max preps and he's not going to jump out for you. Although he was an efficient runner, he averaged over 10 yards per carry, so I do like that. But he was stuck behind Anthony Hankerson last year, who went on to play at Colorado. He was a freshman last year, had a pretty good freshman year. And then this year he was stuck behind Jordan Lyle, who's on 3 is running back 9 for 2024. He has offers from pretty much everyone at this point. Ohio State, Penn State, all these big schools. So when you look at his production, you're like, it doesn't look great. But if you consider the fact that he was behind some pretty good players, that's where I'm a little lenient on it. So he's 5'11", 190, pretty good size. I have him hitting 21 miles per hour. That's pretty good for G5. I mean, so that's a good starting point for me. I looked at some of his camp stuff. I thought he catch the ball pretty well. He's also used as a kick returner. Usually, I mean, that says something at a school like that about his athleticism, I think. So yeah. Athletic player, pretty good contact balance. So I think he could be one of those guys that kind of like has a better college career than a high school career. We'll see.
Yeah, I kind of remember the name Jamari Sands. I do kind of when I'm going through 3 stars, especially, and I see guys from places like St. Thomas Aquinas and some of these other places, Don Bosco out in California, and some of the Texas places. I pay attention because sometimes these guys do fall through the cracks. And Jamari Sands was a name I remember. I think I kind of I had him listed. You said 190, 187, something like that. And I think that kind of made me come off a little bit. But, I didn't realize he hit 21 miles an hour. So that's kind of a good little nugget there. And, interesting guy. I'm going to have to go. No, we're going to go. We can't go 3 in a row for David, but we got some more for you that we have graphics and some clips. I actually don't have that many AAC guys. Like I said, I kind of like Sands. I kind of like Barnes, but I'm going to just more MC here. So David or Matt, sorry, tell us about Devin McEwen. I guess we have a clip of him. Walk us through McEwen. Why do you like him? He's headed to UTSA, so we like that offense.
Yeah, McEwen's about 6 foot 185. Going to UTSA, and he is an insane athlete. He's a 96th percentile size adjusted athlete. He runs a 10.54 100 meter, which is insane. Reported 40 or verticals over 40 inches. 4.3 40 times. We clocked him at over 21 miles per hour, so that's all there. And he stepped up in production this year a good bit. He looked a lot more like a football player on his tape, whereas his junior year he kind of looked more like a track guy playing football. And he definitely took some steps this year, which was good to see. He's definitely someone to keep my eye on. Just that athletic ability playing in the G5. There's just such a huge disparity there between who he's going to be playing against.
Yeah, I mean those clips were pretty impressive. I liked what you showed us there. Pretty impressive guy. David likes to follow certain staffs that will seem to identify good players. I think UTSA is becoming one of those staffs that we kind of like. They are mining left no stone unturned in the state of Texas, and you will find some gems, and they are doing that with regularity, it seems. Remains to be seen exactly what that offense will look like. Frank Harris has one more year. After that, I mean, who knows? But Frank Harris has been doing a tremendous job, and with injuries, who knows if McEwen can get on the field right away? I think everybody came back from their wide receiver room, so we'll have to see. But those were some exciting clips, and you love the offense. Also, okay, we'll go David now. I'm going to leave your super special guy to the end, but we're going to go Temple. Richard Dandridge. We have some clips of him, and you said you really liked what you saw athletically from Dandridge headed to Temple, which kind of defies our entire strategy of picking good offenses, but maybe he can rise above.
Oh, don't sleep on Temple with EJ Warner over there slinging it around.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I watched his tape and I'm like, this guy, he's so coordinated and like explosive and twitched up that I'm like, he's got to be a track guy. And sure enough, he's a long jumper, triple jumper. He triple jumps 46 feet, almost a 23-foot long jump. He had P5 offers early on in his career as like a freshman and sophomore, but he's like one of these guys that just stopped growing, right? So he's like 5'10", like 160. I love this play here. You can see he goes up, comes down, and he doesn't lose speed. It's very cat-like.
That's a great
very
play.
highly coordinated, really good in contested catches situations for like a smaller guy. If you go on Max Preps, his stats are really incomplete. You actually have to go to the Temple website to see those. He had over 3,000 receiving yards and over 30 touchdowns against 30 plus SOS. So that's solid all around. He's got the athleticism. I liked his film, and production was pretty good.
Kudos to you, man, because there are so many players, and we try to not, skip over guys. You never know what you're going to find when you flip on that tape. I mean, Temple is one of those schools where I just might be like, barf emoji. Like, I don't like, if they're going to Temple, I'm just like, what is there? But kudos to you. I agree. I think he looks really exciting. And you're right, EJ Warner, maybe he, kind of does something a little bit for the Temple, revise that offense. All right. Headed back to Matt here. Keldrick Lesser, SMU. We don't have a graphic. I don't think we have any clips. So just tell us real quick why you like him. QB headed to SMU.
Yeah, he's just a brief honorable mention, but just another guy going to awesome offense. Lester was very productive in high school, very good runner. Not the biggest arm, but I definitely think he could continue to be very productive at SMU.
All right, that sounds great. David, back to you for the last one in the AAC. This is one of the more exciting conferences, I think. These are all guys we really kind of liked. I think some of the more explosive players is the guys that we found in the AAC, which makes sense because it's kind of considered the sixth power six or whatever. Tell us about a Navy quarterback that you like.
Yeah, he came across my radar when we were putting the freaks list together because I came across the catapult had him at 22.3 miles per hour. I actually got him at 21.6 in-game mile per hour on his junior tape. So he's like this big freakish guy that Navy typically wouldn't get an athlete like this. They are because his accuracy is really bad. I think he's got like a 40% accurate completion percentage or something like that. So they're getting an athlete they typically wouldn't. Apparently he wants to stick to quarterback, but super young for the class. He's only going to be 17.5 on National Signing Day.
Ooh, wow, that's really young.
Like I said, super athletic, really good rush market share. And then I just did some digging on like previous Navy quarterbacks. Some guys I wasn't even particularly familiar with, but like Will Worth was the QB 11 in like the last 7 years, I think it was. Zach Abbey was QB 18. Malcolm Perry was QB 4. Keenan Reynolds, I don't know. He put up some sick numbers. I don't know. He probably finished pretty high as well. So
he had a 31 touchdown. I was looking today. Reynolds had a 31 rushing touchdown season. I mean,
yeah,
that's crazy. Let's take a quick look here. I like that he's big. I'll tell you that because, a lot of these option QBs and stuff for the service academies, I mean, they come out and they're like 5'10", 155. He's big. This could be a really interesting play. And like you said, there's precedent for Navy QBs. So here he is. This looks like it might be like a 95-yard run. Safety fell down, and he's gone.
Yeah, no one's going to get even near him.
I mean, 21 miles. That's like that. And back in NCAA football, you'd recruit some 3-star QB who had like 99 speed, and you'd just be like, I'll make it work. And that seems like that's what this is. He's just running all around here in the backfield.
They do run a lot of option too, so I don't think you'll have too hard of a transition. And Navy's depth chart, I don't know if you looked at it. It's not very good. Like
I don't think they have anybody. That's a full-blown triple option right there. Man, you can tell he is hyper athletic. Man, that safety had an angle, and the
camera can't keep up, unfortunately.
He crushed that angle though. Like I definitely had an angle on him. All right, sweet. Braxton Woodson. Absolutely last pick of a 52-round draft. Like, you do not need to jump the gun on him, but kind of interesting. Maybe gets on the field early. I don't know. I actually don't know if service academies play freshmen, or usually they seem to be like senior heavy. But I know Keenan Reynolds played as a true sophomore. He had 3 full 1,000-yard, 30 touchdown seasons or whatever. So, all right, flipping the page here, headed to the MAC. We love MACtion. We know defense is not encouraged in the MAC. Sometimes it is not present at all. Crazy things happen. It's midweek. You're going to sit back and enjoy these guys getting you points on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We love to see it. I'm going to start with a guy because I haven't talked about anybody yet. Let me start with a guy. We're going to go Drew DeShields here. This guy was a hyper producer in high school. You're talking like 3,000 or 4,000 yards passing, another 1,000 yards rushing in one season. I don't have the numbers in front of me exactly, but just absolutely insane high school production. I believe for a smallish school in Ohio, somewhere in the Midwest, where frankly we rarely have really good high school, conferences and teams in the Midwest. I've looked at him because of the fact that he was such a crazy producer. I was like interested. And for the longest time, he had an Eastern Illinois offer, which is actually, I believe, is the alma mater of one Jimmy Garoppolo. But obviously, like FCS, we're not that interested. And then at the near signing day, last couple weeks before signing day, he's committed to Kent State, which we love the Golden Flashes, although they're going to have a new look offense. But they've produced some really awesome offenses over the last few years. Colin Schlee most recently. Before that, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. Want to help me out? He's on the Chiefs. I'm blanking. All right, never mind. We'll look it up. We need a stat boy. But let's take a look at Drew DeShields. He does it all, rushing, passing, the whole thing. I mean, I think classically with a G5 guy, the big thing I think a quarterback you're going to be a little worried with is arm strength. I'm not sure he's got, the howitzer. But
Dustin Crum. I could not believe I cannot believe I did not remember his name.
Yeah, and I've been on Dustin Crum for like years. I've loved that guy.
Yeah, I loved him too.
So, what we're dreaming on here is a Dustin Crum maybe type career, but he's just an incredible producer. So many yards, so many touchdowns, and finally got that FBS offer and is headed to the max. So I think you like that. I think this ventures a little bit more into the, what is Sigmund Bloom calls it, the waiver wire speed dial. Just be aware, know the name. If you hear he's starting or you hear him do anything interesting, I mean, just be the first one to kind of pick him up. I'm not sure you actually need to be drafting a guy like Drew DeShields, but maybe it'll be 2 years from now and you hear he's starting or something like that. Keep that in mind. He was sensational in high school and kind of a do-it-all type guy. Let's go to Central Michigan. Matt, Shatavius Hogan. I don't think we have any clips or anything, but you had a star by him, so you like him quite a bit.
Yeah, I did like him quite a bit. He didn't really do a ton this season. He transferred and then kind of went quiet. We don't have stats on him, but he is a good player. He's 6'3", 205 pounds about, and I was able to clock him at 20.8 miles per hour. So very good size speed, combination there. And I just really liked his tape. He's a big jump ball guy, but he's also pretty good after the catch too. And, just going to Central Michigan, I think, he should be able to get on the field, at least year 2, maybe year 3, and just produce. Just a good situation where the talent meets a decent system, at least. It's not a crazy G5 producer, but they can support, some wide receiver production at least.
Yeah, and sticking with Central Michigan, you've also got a running back listed here, Jacavian Callip. Again, we don't really have clips or anything, but just go through what brought him to this list for you.
Yeah, he's another guy. He's just he's been on the smaller side for a running back, 180, 185, I think he's listed at now. He's just a really good athlete, good receiver. So, you like that good combination where he can potentially be a 3-down guy for them eventually.
Great. Sounds beautiful. I'm going to go with the guy here. And, David, I guess, is maybe going to be a little bit quiet here during the MAC. And we're shunning him and putting him in timeout because David did not give us one MAC player to talk about from his side of things. I don't know. We're gonna have to talk to HR. I think that's possibly grounds for termination here at C2C if you're not standing the MAC. But I don't know. We might give him another chance. You guys can write in the comments if you think David should stay. But so I'm gonna go over to a guy I really like. Found him. Interestingly enough, I had him on a list of guys to watch, and I like the tape. And then I had out of the blue, I talk a lot. Alan True is kind of a friend of the show, friend of the website, Campus to Canton. He works for 24/7. He's the Midwest Scout there. And he DMs me out of nowhere. Hey, Janarius Jackson is a guy I really like. He probably should get P5 offers. And I was like, I sent him a screenshot of my notes page. I was like, yeah, I'm already interested. So it's kind of confirmation there, completely independent of me. And let's take a look real quick. So he is 6 feet. He's listed as 220 on the Miami of Ohio website. He looks thick, and he is just a big guy. I think he's college ready now. The big takeaway here is I don't think he's got elite speed. I think Matt's got him in the 19 mile an hour range, which, I mean, really we try to keep it over 20. Maybe he gets a little faster, or maybe he makes it work without speed. I'll show you the tape here. I thought he looked faster than 19, but that's why we do like to get the numbers because sometimes the tape can lie. But this is Janarius Jackson here. I think he's got really good shifty movements. And to me, just watching that without knowing miles per hour, he beats a safety who's got plenty of room and plenty of angle on him and just kind of torches him. I also just like the way he moves. I think he's got pretty slick, quick, sharp movements. He does show power. He's 220 pounds. And he's going to a running back room that is horrible and frankly has been horrible for 20 years. I went back today actually, and the last time Miami of Ohio had a 1,000-yard running back was 2005, and they routinely have entire running back rooms that don't get 500 yards. You go back and you look at other seasons, you've got a guy with 462, a guy with 322, and 105. Horrible running back production. Maybe it's talent, maybe it's the scheme, maybe it's everything. I don't really know, but I think he's a guy. They have a South Carolina transfer coming in. I want to say his last name is Amos, who I think we have a few fans at C2C of that guy. So he's going to come in from South Carolina, but I think this guy's too deep on the depth chart pretty quickly. And we see these G5 teams just kind of cycle through their depth chart pretty frequently because they're just looking for talent. And I think Janoris Jackson pretty interesting. He did have an Iowa offer. I believe a Georgia Tech offer. He's from Georgia, late in the process, but stuck with Miami. And he's a guy I kind of like. Matt, tell us about. I want to talk about Adrian Norton for Akron.
Actually,
David, I think you.
Can I bump in?
Yeah.
Should we just Miami, Ohio? Another player going there, Linnell,
sure.
Phillips Williams. He's not a guy we have a clip for, but 5'11", 160, super productive wide receiver. He's someone we found recently when I was digging through, a lot of these really deep guys' stats, and he pops up really good on our production model. So that stood out to me, and I watched tape. He had good, well-rounded skill set, good player after the catch, and it seemed interesting enough for at the G5 level.
Great, and a guy just turning back the clock last year. Joe Humphreys, I believe, was a QB that was super interesting in Miami of Ohio. Maybe that offense is pretty fun going forward. They have not had an interesting quarterback. Well, Gabbert, I guess, kind of, and they've done a lot of throwing. We'll see if that continues or if they kind of can get that running game started. But any of these MAC teams, any given year, can kind of like come out of nowhere. So it's a good thing, a good place to invest. And just go on to Akron. We've got two guys from Akron. Adrian Norton, you take him first. He's your wide receiver that you really like.
Yeah, he's a very explosive player. What originally caught my attention was his dunks. He has some pretty incredible ones that if we'd known about him before the dunk show, I imagine they would have been at least top 10, a couple of them. He claims a 40-inch vertical. We were able to clock him at 21 miles per hour. He's a super explosive guy. Really good after the catch. So he's bona fide. He could athletically play P5 and NFL upside there. So maybe he's a guy that transfers out in a couple of years. But if he does stay, I think he can be very productive there just with his yak ability alone. He played quarterback this year, and he mostly ran the ball there because he played wide receiver the previous year. But
let's take a look. I think you got some receiver clips here.
Yeah, these are his from his junior tape. And you'll see here, this is just a jump ball. But you can see he gets some pretty good air there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it claims a 44-inch vertical. That might be a bit exaggerated, but I think he's definitely, up there, probably close to 40, I would imagine. Just, the way he's able to get up. Here he goes, kick return. And you can see his burst here. I believe we clocked him at 21.2 miles per hour, which is very good at 190 pounds, 6 foot, 180, 190 around there.
Yeah, he's thick too. He definitely, you can tell these guys that are 160, 165, and then he is a very close 185, 190. He's thick.
Yeah, and he almost takes off there, but that guy got him by the jersey. But
David,
very exciting guy.
I know you're hating on the Mac this episode, but you you saw his dunks. As a resident dunk expert, are you impressed with Norton's dunks?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he would have made the top 10, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
I I want to believe the 44 inches. I do want to believe that.
Yeah, I mean, he's got some kind of twisting under the legs and some pretty nasty dunks that we like that are on a actual regulation net. Zion Fowler, we want to give him the benefit of the doubt. We still don't know if that driveway hoop was really 10 feet or not. So, Norton, pretty interesting guy. Let's go with his quarterback, potentially his future quarterback, Steele Weasel, a guy I have talked about, quite a bit. Maybe there's some personal scouting bias. I happen to like guys that I see at the Elite 11. I saw him there. There's just a guy that, every time I looked up, he was making a good throw on target, tight spiral, which, frankly, when you go to these camps and you see all these guys throwing, a tight spiral is not always a given. There's guys there that just aren't, it's not all the best players in the country. And so he did stand out, even up against some of the best QBs who did happen to be at the Nashville Regional. And so I asked around, and actually, I think I was talking to Josh McCown. I think Josh is the dad, former NFL player. And he talked about him, and he was just kind of like, who's that guy? And I was like, yeah, every time he throws, it's like on target. And it was Steele Weasel. He's definitely a dual threat. He plays out in Oklahoma, but he's put up some pretty sick numbers this year as well. And we're talking about the MAC here. Again, the arm may be in question. I mean, most of the stuff at the Elite 11 was kind of short stuff, and I thought he had a pretty nice zip. But he may not have the howitzer. That's kind of a rainbow ball there, but he's dual threat. It's going to be Akron. Like, I just want dual threat guys at Midwest, at G5 schools basically is a good place to start. So interested to see how he develops, but if nothing else, he's a true, I think, dual threat type guy, and can be a difference maker on the ground. So kind of excited about him. So, Norton, Weasel to Norton, 2025. Let's do it. And then Matt, give us a little. Joseph Walker was a guy you were following even before he committed, and you were a little bit bummed about Eastern Michigan, but you still wanted to include him here. So what are you still hoping for?
Oh yeah, Eastern Michigan has at least shown in the past, as you showed to me, that they can at least produce at wide receiver. He's an interesting guy. He might have been on the dunk show. If not, he just barely missed it. He had a few interesting dunks. He's 6'4", 200 pounds. Really fluid athlete in general, definitely a jump ball guy, and he's pretty good after the catch too. So I was surprised to see him end up at Eastern Michigan. I thought he was going to go to Western Michigan for a little bit, but that's fine. Maybe he transfers up, like we've been saying with pretty much every guy here.
Yeah.
He's just an interesting player where we like the upside.
Yeah, he did have some dunks. And then finally, I think round it out here, we might be done. Cedric Anton, the only tight end we'll talk about tonight. I know there's at least one tight end at next week's episode. But Cedric Anton also headed to Eastern Michigan. You had him on here.
Yeah, I'm actually going to name one guy right after him real quick that I think should make it. But yeah, Anton's actually a international player from Germany, which makes it kind of interesting. He played Georgia ball for 2 years, I believe. So he is, he has a little bit more accustomed game. He's not coming directly over, but his film looked decent. He's a very athletic tight end, kind of that slot H-back tight end where, he gets the ball in yak situations. And, he just looked interesting in that regard, and he has a lot of room to grow because, he doesn't know the game that well. And then one guy after that I wanted to mention, it's going to Western Michigan, Joshua Franklin, is somebody we recently found. Super athletic guy, triple jumper, long jumper. He can do a backflip and catch a football one-handed, which is pretty impressive. Going to Western Michigan, 5'10", I think, around 170, could be the next guy more.
Okay, that sounds great. So that's a bunch of G5 names. We only went through 2 conferences. We're already giving you like 20 names to keep in mind. So I'm pretty impressed with what we've been doing here, to be honest with you. Limiting ourselves to only G5 and still finding some pretty incredible looking athletes, some incredible looking potential here. So gentlemen, thank you so much for your hard work. We will do it again next week. We will do Mountain West. We will do Conference USA. And then we've got a nice grouping of players in the Sun Belt, which is a really up-and-coming conference. Some people say it's kind of like SEC Junior because of its footprint, and they kind of get those, the guys who don't quite make the SEC or diamonds in the rough in, the states like Louisiana, Georgia, Florida. They go to Sun Belt. Pretty cool stuff. So thanks a lot. This is a lot of fun. I love the G5. I love sticking our flag in the ground for these guys, and hopefully we'll get some to pop. There would be nothing better than that. So until next time, stick with us. Next week we will have part 2 of the G5 special, and we'll keep rolling until the first week of March, when we will turn the page until 2024. But for now, more 2023 guys. G5 on the way next week. This has been The Official.